Good evening, all, and welcome to Practically Tactical. This is our live show streaming to you on YouTube. But you can also catch all of our shows in an iTunes podcast format on iTunes. New episodes drop every Sunday at noon Central Standard Time. Be sure to put your questions in the chat or the Google Q&A app, as I'll be watching those, and we have a couple dedicated Q&A segments, so we will definitely get your questions answered. You can also post them on our Facebook page, facebook.com/practicallytactical, and we got some of those there right now, which we will get answered. And that is about it. Welcome to Practically Tactical, episode 39, brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. The Practically Tactical show features a roundtable discussion about guns, gear, and shooting with some of the brightest minds and best-looking hair in the firearms industry. Don't forget, you can also watch our live show Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. For more information on the show, links to guests, guns, and gear we discussed, visit the show notes. Please visit practacpodcast.com/039. Tonight we have a themed topic show about home defense. And I have James Yeager on from Tactical Response, former police officer. And the reason why I have him on is James has a couple videos on his YouTube channel, 3 or 4, that dive into this, and they're excellent, excellent videos. So I thought we'd bring him on and really talk about this. So James, thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, my pleasure.
So again, he has police force background, firearms training. This is going to be a really, really good show. So before we get started in that, though, James, we have to hit on, you guys just released Ammo Nation. And so maybe for those that didn't catch you on last time or not familiar with Ammo Nation is, can you give them a quick rundown on what it is and kind of talk about the first episode?
Yeah, it's a documentary, and it's biased, and it's about guns. And so when you hear documentary biased in guns, you think, oh, no, it's biased because the other way. But no, I set out to make us look good, and I even edited it so we did look good. And But seriously, I wanted to document the true gun culture, who we are, the fathers, the mothers, the preachers, the plumbers, the black, the white, the men, the women, who we are as a culture, and I believe we've done that. Now we'll have initially 6 episodes, and the first episode we go. I don't know how we scored this, but we got to sit down with the guy that owns Gunside, Buzz Mills, and have an in-depth conversation with him, and it's fantastic. And the best part about it is his huge Saint Bernard dog is laying at his feet, snoring the whole interview. People are like, "What is that noise?" And it's a dog snoring.
Well, I really love the beginning of the video because I think you put it in really good perspective. Of when people say like the gun culture, and you mentioned, you think of middle-aged white guys, but it's really more deeper than that. It's really almost a part of our foundation of our country. And you talk about how it kind of was in other places and why this is kind of really the last bastion, or the city on the hill of guns and what it means, and not by guns, but a part of our culture, a part of our history, a part of freedom. And I think that's what is really, really cool about the documentary.
Yeah, we had fun doing it, and besides the 6 episodes that we have, there are a bunch of 5 and 10 minute blocks of stuff that don't fit in anywhere that we're just going to release that are absolutely wonderful. Just all kinds of like cute stuff with kids, and and then kind of like scary stuff, but just besides the regular episodes, just stand by for and also me and Reed doing some duets in the truck as we drive, some pretty sweet songs.
Is it 80s metal?
It's a little bit of everything. I don't know if you're familiar with the song by Head East called "Flat as a Pancake." The chorus goes, "Never been any reason to think about me." But anyway, we did that one really well. The acoustics in my truck are awesome.
Well, all right, guys, check out Ammo Nation. And again, that is free on YouTube. It doesn't cost any money to go watch it. That is right there. I believe the channel name is Ammo Nation, so pretty easy to find. So we'll move into our main segment here about at home defense. And for our listener of the show, this all kind of came from, we did an episode a couple ago with 4 Guys Guns and Nick from Weaponcraft of a story of I was at Gander Mountain, a store that I hate, but that's another story. But there was a couple in there, and they just bought their first gun, and I talked about that, and we kind of had an episode based on you bought your first gun, kind of now what? But also the kind of premise that also goes along with that is yes, a firearm is a great tool for home defense. But there's a lot more to it, isn't there, James? It's not just buy a gun and, okay, you're good. Shoot 50 rounds a month at the range. It is a lot more than that, right?
Of course, and it is a subject that's important to people. My home defense videos have got tons and tons of hits. Matter of fact, my shotguns for home defense video, I just looked at it. I hadn't looked at it in a long time. Over 900,000 views. I'm like, who's watching this? But like, it's on my top 10 list every month, and I don't. It's just a little video I did just like that. But anyway, it is an important topic, and you know, I look at your home defense as at least in two categories: keeping them out, and then, I didn't keep them out. What do I do now? And the more time and effort and money we spend on keeping them out, the less we have to worry about the I didn't keep them out. And so doing things, and just tell me when you want me to stop talking. I can talk for hours and stuff.
You can talk for hours because
but
you're pretty much doing it right along with I have for my show notes. So go ahead.
All right, man. Let's keep them out of the house. And what keeps burglars out of houses? Alarms keep them out of houses, and dogs keep them out of houses. Let's say you don't have the money for an alarm, but you don't. You can't have a dog where you're at. That's okay. Jump on Amazon or eBay or something like that, and buy a "Beware of Dog" sign. And buy alarm signs and alarm stickers, and put that sign out in your yard, and put those stickers on all your windows and doors, and buy a big dog bowl that says "Killer" on it. And what I mean by that is, imagine standing on the street and looking at your house and the houses next to you, or apartment or whatever. You don't have to have an impenetrable fortress. Yours just needs to look a little bit more prickly to get into. It's kind of like the joke, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. Well, you don't have to be, this fortress. You just need a burglar to look from the street and go, not that one looks way easier than this one I'm in front of, and that's all you're looking to do is keep them out. I mean, if you can afford an alarm, get an alarm. They're great. If you can have a big barking dog, then you should have a big barking dog. Little barking dogs are great, like little roving burglar alarms, but they don't scare criminals. Criminals are scared of, in order, being shot by you, being chewed up by your dog, and number 3, shot by the police. And so you and your dog are far more of a deterrent than the police.
Okay, and here's a question kind of going from your background in law enforcement is, if there's a case to where someone is physically breaking into your house, whether day, night, or whatever, we may talk about some different scenarios later, but kind of it's a different part of game than like a regular kind of criminal on the street, isn't it? Is someone that's physically breaking into your house kind of ups the ante in regards to what is about to go down, doesn't it?
Well, yes. There are two distinctly different kinds of burglars: the daytime and nighttime. Daytime burglars are kind of like on Home Alone, where they actually like quote unquote case the joint, and they know when you come and go. The only time you're going to find these people in your house is when you forget your briefcase or whatever and double back to the house. That's the only time you're going to find them. These criminals are the professionals. They back the truck up and they steal everything, including the ice trays. What kind of sick bitch takes the ice trays? I have no idea. But anyway, they're the pros, now, and they're typically not armed, and they're going to arm themselves with whatever you have hanging around your house. That big wooden block of butcher knives in the kitchen, that gun that you leave unsecured laying around, that's what they're going to arm themselves with. Now, burglars that break into your house at night are either under the influence or looking to get under the influence, which makes them equally dangerous. And these are the violent ones. These are the ones that will kill you, and these are the ones that you should be absolutely afraid to have in your home.
Okay, because I thought about maybe understanding, the different types. I think that makes a big difference in the game. But what about, for example, myself, my biggest concern is like home invasions, because those are kind of a big deal now, especially when, for example, like myself, I'm kind of in this middle outside, suburbia kind of thing, to where there's big cities, less than an hour each way of me, and home invasion, I think, have been a really big up spike in those. Is that something you have noticed too, and maybe give us insight on why that those are happening?
I think it's the reason it's happening is it's if you watch, those are typically connected to an internet posting, a Craigslist ad or something like that, where people have something expensive or something that's sought after and the people know it's there. That's what I typically see with the with that type of that violent home invasion kind of a thing. But in general, what I tell people all the time is, like, when I get up and get dressed in the morning, I stay dressed until I go to bed. I wear my gun. Like when I'm sitting there watching TV, I'm wearing my pistol. And they go, well, I keep mine just over whatever on the nightstand or whatever. It's a long walk when somebody's kicking your ass to that pistol.
Absolutely, and it and that's another reason too is I want to have you on is I think there's also a lot, and I don't know if it's a fantasy or again because it's not in reality, but a lot of people think, okay, I'm just gonna pull my gun and then it's over, and that's gonna be it. But I think it's a lot far more complicated. When someone kicks in your door, it's a little more complicated than just, okay, I'm just gonna pull my gun and shoot them or something like that, isn't it?
Well, those people that have these fantasies imagine everything going right, when in reality, everything goes wrong. Okay, so what is the lighting conditions in your house in the middle of the night? Dark. They're not going to see the gun. The criminal's not even going to see it. Yeah, I mean, like, people that have these plans have no basis in reality. It is. I really hope they actually get some real firearms training so they don't live in that world anymore.
Yeah, and that's how I want to hit on too is we're going to talk about firearms training and specifically home defense at the end here, but all this stuff we can talk about, locks, doors, alarms, whatever, none of that will ever be as valuable as firearms training in my opinion, because again, whatever tool it might be, again, a firearm, a lock, a dog, whatever, it is only as good as a weapon person that wields it, that uses it, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And like, well, let's just, it's cool to talk about guns. Let's talk about burglar alarms real quick. Most people, they see the commercial, the guy kicks the door, the alarm goes off, and he runs away. Well, I ask people all the time, what is your plan when that alarm goes off? And they go like, what do you mean? I'm like, when your fire alarm goes off, what are your kids going to do? And they go, well, they told them at school to do this and do that and the other thing. Okay. When the burglar alarm goes off, are your kids going to do the fire alarm thing? Are they going to walk out and and do all that? So you have to, you can't just buy this stuff and expect it to work. And what happens is people buy the burglar alarm, they use it, and then it starts getting in the way of their life. Well, we're going to leave it off for this, and we're going to turn it off for that, and well, we'll just start using it only when we go to bed and shut the door. And then eventually they're paying the fee every month, and they never use the alarm. That's typically how it goes.
No, and that's exactly. Was it the shotgun video or, man, I could have been the rifle. You talked specifically about that. And here's what I really want to hit on, because you talked about is, what are your kids going to do? And again, that's very important for me. We talked about off show. I live in a shoe with so many kids.
Let me say something about kids before you ask your question. Please hold on to it. Especially young children in a fire, they kids will sleep through alarm clocks and they'll just sleep and sleep and sleep. But you can buy smoke alarms for your child's room that you can record, or your wife can record their voice. Like, get up, Tommy, the house is on fire, and do the thing I told you to do. And so that is something for little kids, that is something that can save their life. Also, if you guys will look over his shoulder at that electrical outlet, don't do that. What are you trying to set your house on fire? What are you doing over there?
That's for all the lights that I have above. And that's funny that you're the second person on 2 days in a row that's mentioned that. I'm going to have to change it now because everybody notices it. But no, you kind of hit on exactly what my question was, is planning. I think no matter what aspect of life you're talking about, home defense, you're talking about money, you're talking about whatever, planning is a very important key. And that's something I want to talk to you too about, specifically, for myself and kids. And you hit on it there too, is do your kids know the difference between a fire alarm and a burglar alarm? And that's something I'm thinking about too, is that have me and my kids ever talked about that? Do they know the difference? Do they know what to do? So maybe someone's sitting here like, just like me, crap, I don't think I even have a plan for any of this stuff. Can you recommend to people, a plan, or how they should approach it in regards with family and kids?
Yeah, get some training.
Okay. Are there?
There's really there are so many variables that that's why I like to use the big categories, like keep them out of your house, or if they get in your house. It would be, I just can't be very specific because that would be irresponsible without knowing exactly how the person's house is and things like that. But there are some basic things. Number one, handguns suck for killing people, and so your home defense gun should be like something like a shotgun or a rifle. The reason you would need a handgun is if you have to go get little people and bring them back to your room. Then you want a handgun that holds a whole lot of bullets that has a light on it, something you can operate with one hand. Hence the handgun. A shotgun or a rifle is a hands gun, and we can't go and open doors and grab our little kid and stuff like that and move around with a shotgun and effectively wield a shotgun. So get everybody where they're going to be, and then get something big in your hands.
Okay, and that was one of the Facebook questions we had too. Was ask James, if he says you should have a handgun or rifle. So I think you answered again in there, and again too, you're talking about your home defense videos with the rifle, shotgun. You say it there clearly, and I'm sure you've seen a law enforcement too. Handguns hurt a lot of people.
Listen,
rifles have
people shot with handguns run away. People shot with long guns die. It's that simple. And I'm not trying to be some bloodthirsty person or whatever, but the longer they are in your house alive, the more danger your family's in. Imagine it's like nuclear radiation. You have to reduce your exposure to that radiation. The longer you're around the radiation, the more chances you are for issues. And it's the same thing with criminals.
No. And I think you're exactly on there, because I think, wasn't there some crazy story like a month or two ago, some lady in Texas, I think, shot a guy like 6 times in the face with like a .38, or 5 in the chest, 1 in the head, and he still drove to the hospital. So, I mean, again, that's not, doesn't happen every time, but I think you're on there. But and again, too, the whole point of home defense is, again, you hit it on there, was we want to make it so it doesn't happen. We never want to have to find our kids and bring them into a room and barricade ourselves. So
yeah, if you have to put your home defense plan into action, you have already failed the test.
I think that's a good way to put it. And so for those out there that went out and gun, there's definitely a lot more to it. Now, what about some kind of talking about keeping people out? What about do like thorny shrubs in front of windows help? Or
listen, it's a multifaceted attack, and the more things you do, the better off you are. Like little things like the hinges and door hasps and locks and stuff in your doors. Unscrew the little bitty screws and put 3-inch long screws in there, and that won't make your door impenetrable, but it'll turn it from a 1-kick door into a 4 or 5-kick door. There are all kinds of little things. If you can't afford a real alarm, there are all kinds of little alarms that you can put under doors or hang on the doorknob. If somebody rattles the knob, the alarm will go off. There's all kinds of stuff you can do like that. There's all kinds of stuff that door reinforcements, like pretty brass bars and stuff that you stick them behind your door and people can't kick the door in and stuff like that. If you have a sliding glass door or a French door of some sort, get something over that. Like get some kind of gated door over it. That is a huge hole in your home. Not only are they not energy efficient, you're losing hundreds of dollars a year, but absolutely that is the Achilles heel of any home.
All right. And for those who are curious too, James is starting up a home improvement channel here soon too. So after Ammo Nation goes, you're gonna start a home improvement channel, right?
It's gonna be a shitty old house.
Looking forward to it. But I think you were right there. French doors, you don't even have to kick them in. You can just kind of push them and they'll open.
Yeah, lean on them.
What about? And I think you hit on there too. For different reasons, you can go to like Radio Shack or whatever, and I think they're like $5, like a magnet alarm. One's on the door, one's on the wall, and there's really cheap ways to do it. And so, talking now outside the home, anything else that you've talked about? Signs, shrubs, whatever. Anything else that you can think of?
Well, lights. Criminals hate lights. The more lights you have, the less likely you are to be targeted. They're like cockroaches. You turn a light on them, they take off. So what I recommend is on every side of your home some motion detector lighting. And this does a couple of things. Number one, when it clicks on, it gives the appearance that somebody might have just turned that light on. But also, it improves your quality of life. If you walk your dog around your house or whatever, now it's going to light up and and you'll have a safer walk around your home. But motion detector lighting, big deal. You should have that.
Okay. Now, and this is going to sound stupid, but people need to lock their doors, right?
It's funny.
Like, isn't that like the first thing that someone should do is lock their doors?
It's so funny. There used to be a television show on a few years ago called To Catch a Thief, and it was these two reformed house burglars. This TV show hired them, and these people would get on the show, and these guys would break into their house. And it was funny. I watched the show all the time, and at least 9 out of 10 times, the guys just walked into the house. It was unlocked. They just walked. And now, these are people that had locks. They had burglar alarms. They didn't set, and stuff like that. And it's funny. My home that I have on the front side, it looks like it's a 1-story. On the back, it's a 2-story. And the windows on the top of the back when I moved in didn't have locks on them. And what do most people have laying out beside their garage or shed?
Ladder. No, I think that show. I loved that show. I think it was on Discovery or one of those channels. But I think what really brought that show home was, like, the people knew they were coming to. It wasn't like, okay, you're gonna sign this up. Like, they're like, okay, in the next 2 weeks, month, these guys are gonna come and try to break into your house. And you're absolutely right. Half the time they'd open up a window, open up a door, walk right in. And people even had dogs, and dogs would usually never cause too much of a problem either on that part. But I think what they showed on was, like, when your house gets ransacked, how personal that is. When they tear apart your house, it becomes an emotional thing, not just you got stuff stolen.
And to add insult to injury, they take your suitcases and steal your stuff.
Yeah. They would take silverware. They would take remote controls. They would take everything to affect every single second of your life in your home to make you remember it. It's almost like some of them are, you talked about stealing ice trays. There are people that professionally do it that's their, I guess, marker or whatever, isn't it?
That was a line off True Lies.
Oh, okay. All I could think of was the the Home Alone with the water bandits
right
whatever.
Slippery. What was it? The sticky bandits. There
was the sticky bandits, and then there was was it the wet running water bandits or something? I don't know. That is funny though on there. So and I know we're gonna have a ton of questions on this, so we'll definitely get to them here. But what about inside the house? Is alarms? Is there any more deterrent someone can get other than a dog, an alarm, something that could aid them?
A shotgun.
Okay, so then we're gonna move right into firearms because we already have a bunch of people asking. Excuse me. Can James recommend what he thinks for a pistol or a rifle? What does he think about an AR for home defense? And maybe because people are just gonna ask recommend.
Here's the deal. Whatever you have is fine. Get some training.
No matter what.
I know that's not the answer. People want to go out and buy stuff instead of train. But whatever your regular carry gun is during the day, if you don't carry a light on it, snap a light on it and lay it by your nightstand. And that's in case you have to leave your bedroom. And then you should have something with a shoulder stock on it available to you to repel all boarders.
Okay. And kind of maybe hitting on the lighting thing too is, and you talked about before, when there's no light, the game changes, doesn't it? I mean, it's a completely different world, especially with firearms, and especially when it comes to home defense. Is you need to know your target. Lighting critically important.
Lighting affects combat 100% of the time. There is no exception. If the sun's in my eyes, the sun's not in my eyes. It's dark. It's it's this. It's that. There is some measure of truth to the westerns when they had their shootout, their duel at high noon, because it was the only time during daylight hours that nobody had an advantage from the sun. And so he who controls the light controls the fight.
Okay, that's really good to think of. And here's something too, because I think that came from our Facebook page too. houses versus apartments, living in country, is it something that, we hear a lot of people a lot of people are concerned with over penetration, especially in apartments. Is that something that, if someone comes to you, I live in an apartment, what should I buy? Do you tell them to,
Well, let's stop with that. The first thing is the people that worry about over penetration don't have any competent firearms training, and I can prove that because all they're thinking about is when that round doesn't hit the human being they're aiming at and hits a wall. If the rounds you fire hit a human being, they don't go through walls.
Okay. So don't if no, you're 100% right.
But long guns especially like an AR-15 penetrates less wall board than 9mm out of a handgun. The handgun round moves pretty slow. It's pretty fat, pretty thick. It doesn't break apart. The 5.56 round breaks apart, tumbles, and does not penetrate walls very well.
Okay.
So that's good and bad. And there's one thing is people want to know if they should have birdshot in their shotgun. Yeah, if you're hunting birds. If you're hunting humans, you need to have buckshot or slugs in it. And people are like, what about over penetration? Keep in mind, you want over penetration. You want that ability. And what I mean by that, if some asshole is hiding behind your couch or behind a corner or behind a door, you're not going to open the door to shoot him. Shoot his ass through the door. Penetration is why we use long guns. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Get some training and learn how to make it a positive thing.
Okay. So we've been hitting on training a lot here, so we'll jump to that. Then we'll maybe come back to a few other things here. Are there specific time of home defense trainings?
Yeah, there's several people that do home defense classes. Several competent instructors. Of course, we do one. South Narc, Craig Douglas does an arm movement and structures class. Start looking around. Somebody does one. Somebody that you would want to train with does one. There, I believe Sonny Pazikas is going to start doing them in the Dallas area. There are places around the country to get the kind of training that you're looking for.
Okay, so hopefully we'll perk some interest on people getting that. So, so tactical response, they're kind of home defense. What's the class? Is it home defense? What's it called?
Yeah, it's home defense, and it's in our shoot house, and we use Glock 17Ts, the paint marking rounds, the FX, the simunition guns, and we put people in scenarios, home invasions, walking in on a burglar, from work or whatever, just all with and without children, and yada yada yada. We just put people in as many scenarios as we can over the course of the class to help them better prepare for when it might happen to them.
Wow. So you put the realism in as much as possible into a.
Oh yeah, like plan. People, you sweat in that class. Anytime you do force on force training, it's good. If it's conducted correctly, of course. But the great thing about it is we put people under an intense amount of stress, and they leave it with this huge sense of confidence. But also, if a couple comes, the couple gets to train together and work as a team. So it's all. So if you come as a couple, it's actually it turns into almost a team tactics class as well. And it's one person is one person, but two people can be 10 people if they work together well enough.
Okay. Well, and I think that's something important too. In a home plan, should people, let's say, it's me and my wife and my kids here. Should that be part of our plan, as to where if something happens to me, that my wife also needs to be as competent, or if not more competent? Shouldn't that be part of your home plan instead of having just one guy? I'm going to protect everybody else hides. It needs to be more than one guy, right?
Yes, I believe that your significant other at least needs fire extinguisher training. And what I mean by that is, we've all talked to our spouse or kids. Kids, if there's an emergency, you pull this thing and you press this thing, right? Well, do that with a gun with your significant other. If something happens, you hold it like this and point it there and press that thing, and it makes the loud noise. Like at least that, because if you weren't home, or because you're not always together if you're a couple. If you weren't home, you'd want them to be able to protect themselves. So I do believe, it's absolutely a wonderful thing to have both parents trained and competent, but one's better than none.
Okay, I'm going to move us onto a quick Q&A session here because we got a couple. We got a bunch. So for those that are listening on podcast, come join us on our live broadcast Mondays, usually at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or, you know what, if you got any questions, you can email me at nick@farmersradio.tv and I'll get those answered. So, James, we have, I think we had this question on our Facebook page. It's in the chat. It's in the Google Q&A app. What ammo do you recommend for like 223, 556 AR rifles if they're in self-defense?
It's real simple. Corbon DPX for pistols and rifles, and double-aught lead, unplated buckshot, and Brinky slugs, Brinky KO slugs for shotgun. It's that simple. Okay. DPX, non-pellet buck, not tactical stuff, full-power buckshot, not Magnum, regular 2 3/4 full-power buckshot, and then Brinky KO slugs. It's that simple.
Okay. And what makes, I guess, the Corbon, or what I missed that what you'd fully called it there on the
Corbon DPX. It is a total copper bullet, so it can go through barriers and still retains all of its weight. We've done a bunch of gelatin tests with it, and it is top-notch ammo for your pistol or for your rifle. It's wonderful stuff. They make it in 7.62 .39, 5.56, 308. I make it in several common calibers that you would use for defense, and it's just great stuff. It's loaded there at Corbon, which is a relatively small company. The quality control is super high, and I've been using it for 20 years, and it's wonderful ammunition.
Okay. Well, that knocked out about 5 questions there. Everybody wanted to know about that. We have.
But check it out. What the ammo you need is called training. I know I'm a trainer, but I have so many people show up for class that can't operate the stuff, and they think they can, but they can't operate the machines they have, and they want to spend more money on machines and more money on gear, and they don't even know how to use what they have effectively. It's crazy. No,
I agree with you 100% there, and I kind of have one little video on it. I've taken one training down with alumni of yours, Sam and Corey down at Range Time, and what I stressed to people was, again,
Just so you know, I don't like Sam so much. Just so you know.
I'm going to tell that when Sam's on next time.
I'm really an Erica fan, but I guess we all are.
I bet Sam's watching. I bet he's going to text my phone in a second.
Sam, I'm going to powder on him.
He'll be there next week, actually, I believe.
And luckily, I'm leaving.
You don't have to put up with the smell then, huh?
We like those guys.
But what I tell people a lot is just the training, and I took, again, a very basic pistol class, was the amount of thinking that is actually involved in a self-defense type of stuff, like, okay, I have to shoot. Wait, my kid's room is behind where I have to shoot. What do I do? Those type of absolutely little minuscule things that are actually very, very important about, okay, we're going to drop the knee and change the trajectory of the bullet. Or there is actually a lot of thinking that goes on in training. It's not just pull the trigger this way, look this way, position your body this way. What I walked away from was it puts a lot of thinking of, okay, I didn't think about 50 things that I should have been thinking about instead of buying, again, all the gear and whatever, 511 pants and whatever I bought. There's a whole lot more thinking to the training aspect than just learning how to shoot a gun.
It's mindset, tactics, skill, and gear. And people get that turned around upside down. They spend the most time and money and effort talking about gear when it's really mindset and tactics that keep you safe.
No, you are 100% right there. That is definitely one thing that I've learned through my little time here. Obviously, we have a watcher of your channel asking a specific question here from SKDF. He wants to know how the Adams rifle is running, and if your opinions have changed any on it.
Oh no, I have it right here. As a matter of fact, I love this thing. It's awesome. I got to put some more rounds through it. I'm kind of embarrassed to say I have had so little time to actually shoot this year, but I'm loving it. I still don't like the stock, but that's no reflection on the rifle. It's I really do enjoy it. Really do like it.
All right, then last question here, another ammo question. Then we're going to move on, and don't worry, guys, we'll come back to more questions.
This is my home defense rifle right here. I got all kinds of crap on this thing.
And I think you answered it anyways, but I'm going to ask it maybe because we weren't specific on it. People want to know how they felt about like varmint AR rounds, like the fragmenting bullets.
No.
The way that it was put to me is you don't want a fragmenting bullet, as in, I'm talking about the powder stuff. Where if you shoot somebody and you need that penetration like through like the side, you won't get it.
Corbon DPX. I was pretty clear about it.
All right. Want to make sure we answer all of our questions there. So guys, we'll get back, put more questions in, and I know there's a few more out there. We will get back to them. So we talked about outside the house, inside the house. Something you kind of talked about too, and maybe I don't know if there's anything you could do change about. We talk about the people that watch houses, and a lot of people might think that's not common, or that doesn't really happen other than the TV shows or whatever. Is it actually far more common than people think?
Yeah, and it's not that they necessarily watch your house. It's maybe they got to deal with the UPS guy. And the UPS guy knows the expensive houses, knows the gate codes, and delivers. Maybe if you have the UPS guy showing up at 8 o'clock some days, and at noon some days, and at 5 some days, he might be the one watching your house, and then he tells people, hey, they got a lot of money because they order this and they order that, and it could be something that simple, where they pay the guy that checks your water meter to know when you're home and when you're not. Just silly stuff like that.
Okay. Here was a question too that I think had in a chat kind of off air or whatever a while ago. What about with I think there was just another story too of I think some 12-year-old or 13-year-old kid defended a home invasion. What about kids and firearms? Something that is obviously important to me because I have a wide range of age. How do you incorporate them into like a self-defense, home defense type of plan? Of maybe you got kids at home during the day by themselves, parents are at work. How do you approach training kids with firearms, and especially in a kind of a home defense aspect?
The same way you would prepare kids for sex, for drugs, for alcohol, for anything else. You treat it like it's important, and you educate them as best you can.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you kind of what I have, and you can tell me if I'm doing right or wrong. For me, and what I usually tell people is I look at each of my kids individually, because you know what? I may have a 12-year-old kid that might be more mature than a 16, 17-year-old. So I don't necessarily base any sort of being at home alone with the firearm type of thing on age. I don't know if that's the right rule or not, but I do it based off of maturity. And then for me, I also train my kids separately usually because it's a little easier than 8 kids running around. But how am I doing on that part in regards to the training in regards to home defense?
Well, generically, this is how I would answer that. Are you making your home safer or less safe when you do that? Like literally, is the training that you're giving your child making them more safe or less safe? Are they likely to injure themselves or somebody else in the family more or less after your training?
Well, I mean, for me, I think they're safer.
Then you're doing the right thing.
Okay. But judging kids on maturity instead of like an age number, you think that's the way to go?
Oh yeah, you have to judge them individually. Like we have people all the time. Like I get emails all the time from like 17-year-old kids, and they're like, "Man, as soon as I turn 18, I'm coming to take a class." We don't have any age limit. We've had as young as 8 years old take classes from us. Matter of fact, years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, there was a video of a little girl named Mackenzie that took apart an AR-15, field stripped it, and put it back together real fast. I don't know if you ever saw that or not, but she came to a class, and there's YouTube videos of it. You can find. She came to a class at, I think she was 10. She was a little bitty thing and took fighting pistol at 10 years old and did fantastic.
She beat a bunch of 30-year-old guys, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
All day. And I think you hit it off there too. Is, and people might not like this, but I think at least educating them younger is better to knock out some of that curiosity factor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you take that factor out of it, it really makes your home safer. And what I found is making them Marine Corps clean guns really gets them bored with them.
I agree 100% on that. None of my
scrub it again. Nope. Scrub it again. No. Nope. Scrub it again.
Yeah. Make them tear down and clean a Ruger 1022 a couple times and
make them tear down and reassemble a Ruger 22 pistol.
That'll end it real quick, won't it?
I got like 7 of those pistols I can't put back together. I just keep buying a new one.
It's probably cheaper and easier that way. But I think we got some questions there too. Is just kind of we're on the subject there, and I see a couple. What about training kids with firearms? Is there any specific way you approach it at all?
Yeah, like adults, except it's easier. Kids and women, you just have to tell why. I mean, sorry, how. Men, you have to tell why. Like a little kid, I'll say, here, hold it like this and do this. And they go, okay. And I'll tell a man, hey, hold it like this. Why? I've been holding it this other way my whole life.
For some reason, that did just remind me of the nickname you gave Jared at AGS, but we'll save that for later. He told me that story. But so I think we've almost kind of have we missed anything in regards to home defense? I just really want to make sure we kind of cover all basics. Again, I feel like there's a lot of people that's, hey, buy a gun, you're okay. Buy an 870 Remington Express and this, and you're good to go. And I just really feel like there's just so much more to it than just buying a gun.
There is so much more to it. Matter of fact, if you're on a really tight budget, I would tell you to buy those alarm signs and beware a dog sign and stuff before you bought a gun.
You know what? Here's one last thing that just kind of hit me here. What about home first aid kits?
Well, I mean, it's the same for anything. I have a ventilated operator kit, just like our little blowout kit. I've got one in the glove box at every vehicle. They're in my shooting bags. I got one in every room of the house. I mean, they're everywhere. First aid kit is not worth a shit. You need a trauma kit. And if you go to thetacticalmedic.com and look up the VOK or ventilated operator kit, it's a good basic kit for the big 3 in trauma: critical blood loss, tension pneumothorax, or obstructed airway.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to our last subject here. And, guys, if you have any questions, get them in there. We're going to wrap it up. But here's one thing that I don't see talked about at all, or hardly very little, is let's say someone breaks in your house. Hopefully, you were hoping you didn't have to use a firearm. You had to. What do you do after that? What happens? Because I think a lot of people don't prepare for. Maybe they prepare for having to use it, but what about after? What happens after you have to use a gun and self-defense, specifically at home? What should a person look for? What should they be doing?
Well, I'll tell you this: if your wife and kids see you kill a man, you won't have to tell them to clean their room twice anymore.
Oh, that's the trick I need to do.
And I assure you, service master, cleaning that damn mess up won't be cheap. That gets into a whole area of communicating with the police and stuff like that, which it's a slippery slope that we don't have time to talk about. What I would say is get some training.
Okay, and we'll say also for this, just because there's one guy doesn't mean that that's just him.
Oh yeah,
that's safe to say.
There's always another one, always.
Okay, and then after that, probably shouldn't be leaving the house or touching stuff or continuing to walk around with a firearm, especially when police show up.
Yeah,
Just
that's
to be,
good. That's good news. And there's one wives' tale I want to put to rest. Everybody watching this has been told by somebody they trusted that a cop told them if you shoot somebody outside your house to drag them inside, don't do that. You could easily turn a self-defense case into a murder very quickly. Don't do stuff like that.
Okay, and kind of on that same thing too is, well, if you're going to shoot them, make sure you kill them because it's cheaper that way. I think people need to learn that no matter what nowadays.
Yeah, now we're hitmen. Now we're killing people for money.
Yeah, and again too, I think something we should point out is we want to stop the threat. We're not out to necessarily kill anybody. We are just here to stop the threat and protect our family at whatever that is.
If some scrote bag breaks into your house, comes in through a window, and you meet him there, and he's standing there by the broken window that he came in, make his ass go back out that window. Seriously, get out of my house. We're not putting him on the ground. We're not arresting him. We're not telling him to put his hands behind his back. It's that radiation thing I was talking about. Get his ass out of your house.
I think that's a good way to put it. Again, don't go by the it's cheaper to kill him than not, because nowadays there's always a lawsuit for everything nowadays. And something too is if you haven't looked into it, there's like a home defense concealed carry insurance, and it's relatively cheap. I don't know if that's something you prescribe to at all.
I'm a member of the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. And the NRA endorsed self-defense insurance plan, and the United States Concealed Carry Association plan.
Oh, you're definitely on board then.
Well, we buy insurance for everything else. Why not buy insurance for our liberty?
Yeah, and I think it's like what, $5 or $10 a month, if that even.
It's
not very much.
It's way less than buying another gun
or an attorney.
Well, the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network supplies your attorney and expert witnesses like Masada Ayub.
Well, there we go, guys. I'm going to check for any other questions here. We don't see anything that we haven't covered yet. So, someone's wanting something free from you. So
what are they wanting?
They want you to sign your Spikes flag in the background and mail it to them.
That's not a Spikes flag. That's a come and take it.
Oh, maybe what's the one next to it? The black with the red.
Okay, yeah, that's Spikes.
Okay, yeah, that one.
Yeah, they can't have that one.
So we'll wrap there, guys. Again, everything we've talked about. Again, and maybe we need to throw this out there too. And you hit on it too. Is everybody has a plan? And to quote Mike Tyson, this is my favorite saying: everybody has a plan to get punched in the face. And so I don't think no matter what type of plan, training is going to be the only thing that's going to help you get through whatever adverse situation there is. There's nothing else of planning, writing down notes, putting stuff on a wall that's going to affect anything other than training, correct?
Training. Get it?
There we go, guys. So again, we're going to wrap it up here. Again, check out Tactical Response. Obviously, they do all sorts of training. They travel around. He has awesome videos. I'll put those in the show notes. For those listening on podcasts, and I'll add them to the YouTube video for those watching. You have 3 videos, don't you? You have like a rifle, shotgun, home defense, 3, 4, something like that. They're great videos.
Just use the search function on the page. Just type in home defense, and I bet it'll pop up.
All right. So check that out, guys. So we're going to wrap it up here. So James, thank you for coming on to the show. We'll take a time here to plug anything that you got coming up. So obviously, Ammo Nation is out.
If they can't find me, they're too stupid to give me money.
Anything else to plug or talk about that you got coming up at all?
No, man. I mean, I'll be at Blade Show this weekend. I don't know when this is going to air on the podcast, but the first weekend in June, this weekend, I'll be down at Blade Show. If you see me out there, please say hello.
Okay. And something I will point out, too, because you brought it to my attention in one of your videos, is about blade knife rights, which is obviously not being covered at all, but I think you talked about one of the associations. I liked them on Facebook, and they're working on a whole bunch of things. So
yeah, knife rights. As a matter of fact, if you ever want one of the knife rights guys to come on the show, he's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine named Todd Radner, and he can tell you, he can give you a whole education on it. It's really neat stuff.
I would love that, because the only thing I'm good at with knives is losing them. So
guilty as charged.
But that's it, guys. So Another announcement we'll talk about is the Practically Tactical On Target, the company and product interviews. That is out. Episode 1 is the Ammo Boss, the Polymer Shotgun magazine that's in crowdfunding. That is episode 1 of On Target. That is out. Episode 2 is Unique ARs. That is out when you're listening to this, so be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, guys, check out This Week in Guns, the podcast. I'll be guest hosting that a couple times in June, so check that out. And then I think that's about it. So, James, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for hopefully we set some people straight here and hopefully woke some people up, I hope.
Well, I had a good time, and I hope everybody gets off their ass and trains.
I hope so, too. So, again, guys, you know what? If you think we said something wrong, we said something right, maybe we motivated you, you got a different idea on home defense, email me, nick@firearmsradio.tv. Also, please give us a review.
No. Get off your ass and make a YouTube video.
Oh, there we go. And go on James's channel and find a video and type it in there too. So, but also give us a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. We took a couple of questions from our Facebook audience, put it on the show here. So facebook.com/practicallytactical. And as always, guys, thank you for tuning in and listening to us. Thank you, James, again. Really appreciate it, man. Love having you on because you're just a straight shooter, no BS. We don't got to pull any punches, so I appreciate you. So thanks for everybody watching, and we'll catch you on another episode of Practically Tactical. Take care.